The FTC just sued Zillow and Redfin, and we got to talk about the housing market in general. Is it in a giant bubble? What warning signs should you look for, and what should you stay away from and avoid in this market? Let's talk about it. So first things first, the Federal Trade Commission just sued to block a rental listing deal between Redfin and Zillow. Now, we've been diving into this, and there's some sus things going on, and I'll show you some examples of what I think is going on. But here's the complaint as listed by, or at least the complaint overview is listed by the FTC. FTC sues Zillow and Redfin over illegal agreement to suppress rental advertising competition. Zillow and Redfin had an unlawful agreement that eliminated Redfin as a competitor in the market for placing the advertising of rental housing on the internet. Now, initially you might think, well, what are you talking about? Like, I can go to Redfin and I can see places listed for rent. What do you mean you don't? There's a suppression of rental housing? And I think this is exactly the point. The FTC is saying they make you think on Redfin all of the listings are there, but they're actually hiding them from you. Listen to this and I'll show you what I was able to find quickly. Take a look at this. So Zillow and Redfin operate two of the nation's largest rental ILS networks by traffic and revenue, including Zillow Rentals, Rent.com, and ApartmentGuide.com. The complaint alleges that in February of 2025, Zillow and Redfin entered an illegal agreement to dismantle Redfin as a competitor in the advertising market for multifamily rental properties. Now, they specifically say multifamily, but watch, because I think it actually goes a little further than that. In exchange for a $100 million payment and other compensation for Zillow, the complaint alleges, Redfin has agreed to end its contracts with advertising customers and help Zillow take over the business, stop competing with Zillow for multifamily properties for 9 years, and only become a syndicator of Zillow listings, making Redfin listings basically a copy of Zillow. Redfin then fired hundreds of employees and then helped Zillow pick and hire the best of the terminated workers. Paying off a competitor to stop competing against you is a violation of federal antitrust laws. Okay, let me explain that, and then I'll give you a quick breakdown of what the heck is going on in the actual housing market. We'll talk rates and expectations, bubble market, and all of that. I'll keep that shorter and more of a synopsis for you. Let me first explain to you the smoking gun. And this is my read into this, so I could be mistaken. But let's take a look at some of this. So when you go onto Redfin right now and you look at rentals for rent, I found this listing on a multifamily complex that was listed as provided by Zillow. So far that FTC complaint makes sense. What we're finding is, oh, okay, yeah, you've got listings that are basically a copy of what's on Zillow for multifamily properties. And so then what I did is I wanted to see if this would extend to single family properties and what we're finding with singles. And so what I did is I went to go look at what properties are for rent on Zillow in 93004, and I compared them to what's listed for rent on Redfin. And Redfin is usually known for having listings pop up within like 5 minutes of showing up on the MLS or somewhere for rent. And take a look at this. I don't know if this is exactly what's going on, this is related to it or what, but take a look at this. Zillow shows right here on Santa Margarita Road a $4.4 thousand listing right here, so $4,400 per month. And then here's one on Fallen Leaf for $3,900 per month 11 hours ago. And what you'll notice is those are not visible on Redfin. Fallen Leaf Ave, not visible. Santa Margarita, not visible. But this one over here on Oneida is visible. And so what did I notice? Well, when I went to the listing on Oneida and I went to the listing on Oneida, I saw that this one says it's listed for rent, it's on Redfin, and look at this, listed by management company with a verified source, a little green check mark. This listing comes from a verified source known as an established property manager. Okay, so that implies like some kind of good reputation or whatever, right? I actually think it's just people paying Zillow a fee to list their rentals. Because watch this. If I zoom in to those two properties that are not listed, the one on Santa Margarita Road and the one on fallen leaf that do not show up on Redfin. So they're invisible on the Redfin marketplace. Nothing on fallen leaf, nothing on Santa Margarita. What happens? Oh, look at this. Listed by property owner. The Yang individual over here and the person on Santa Margarita, Chloe, Buena Properties, not verified sources, which means they're probably not paying Zillow their extortion fee. And guess what? The listings just don't show up on Redfin. So it's kind of and potentially a way for Zillow to gate what listings show up on Redfin unless people pay the Zillow extortion fee. And now Zillow's getting smoked for it. Now, it could also hurt Rocket Mortgage because, see, Rocket Mortgage just bought Redfin. They're also buying Mr. Cooper in a big consolidation, so it's no surprise that the stock just tanked for a moment when the news hit. Looks like people were taking advantage of it as a buy the dip opportunity. Hey, the Qs just went positive. But it just shows you some of the shadiness that's going on in the real estate market. Now, we've got to also give you a recap of what's going on in the housing market in general and what's going on. Like, are we in a bubble? Is this, time for an oopsie doopsie bubble pop? And what are the big risks to look for in this market? We'll give you a recap on those.
Managing your rental properties just got a whole lot easier. Introducing Baselane, today's sponsor. Wow, here is an integrated banking and bookkeeping platform all in one, and it's built specifically for real estate investors. See, with Baselane, you can handle everything in one place. From smart banking to automated bookkeeping and rent collection. No more switching between apps or worse, spreadsheets. You can also open unlimited checking and savings accounts for each property with no monthly account maintenance fees, minimum balance fees, or hidden charges. This, by the way, is huge for those of you who really like having one bank account associated with one property, which I did a lot of when I got started in real estate, and I loved it. This makes things a little easier. Baselane also offers high APY, annual percentage yield, savings to help you earn more on your rental income as soon as that rental income comes in. And automates it for you. See, rent collection is automated. Tenants get reminders, and then you can charge late fees automatically. Hopefully you don't have to, but if you have to. And rent gets deposited directly into your account in as fast as 2 business days. That way you don't have to chase payments anymore, juggling around Zelle, Venmo, or checks or whatever, making sure it ends up getting into a yield savings account or whatever. It's all integrated together with Baselane. Now check out all the details, obviously, at Baselane. You could use my link in the description at baselane.com/Kevin, and you'll even get a $100 bonus if you sign up. Now, what's awesome as well is when tax season rolls around, you'll have everything ready. Transaction history, categorized expenses, downloadable reports, all with just the click of a button. See, Baselane was built for real estate investors. It helps you stay organized, save time, and grow your portfolio with less stress. So sign up for Baselane at baselane.com/Kevin. Get a $100 cash bonus. It's amazing. $100 cash bonus when you fund your account. Again, that's baselane.com/Kevin, or click the link in the description below.
The Wall Street Journal is reporting a rise in accidental landlords being bad for investors who want to bet big on rental properties. Now, that suggests that buying rental properties is a bad idea. And it can be if you're a company like Opendoor. In my opinion, if you're a company like Opendoor, you tend to lose money hand over fist. Now, I really like this particular property because it has a square footage of 6,969, which are some great numbers here. But here's a property that Opendoor acquired in February for $772,000. And it looks like they flipped it based on their description of new roof, new interior paint, fresh paint, new flooring throughout, kitchen cabinets, or whatever. Now, they've got plenty of weeds even in their listing photo, which is kind of sad, and they didn't end up doing any landscaping in the back. But broadly, the property looks relatively move-in ready, and you got yourself your clean slate. They threw down some carpet, some plank, and painted the inside pretty much, basic colors here. Fine. But the problem with Zillow's listing here for Opendoor is it indicates the property sold for $772,000. They fixed it up, and after almost 3 months, listed it for $865,000. This is Open Door, and it's gone straight down. 850, 840, 833, 824, 811, 800, 794. That's what it's listed for now. I think a big danger, number one right now, is flipping real estate, and that's probably why you're seeing this rise in, quote, accidental landlords. Basically, problems in the for sale housing market are starting to infect the rental business. Now, the Wall Street Journal says that rents in top 20 U.S. housing markets for single family are expected to rise just 0.8% this year, the slowest pace since 2011, when the job losses caused by the global financial crisis made it hard to increase rents. And so where you're seeing this big drop in slowness in home prices is Atlanta, Dallas, Phoenix, Houston, Tampa, and Charlotte. With the exception of trying to flip like Open Door, which is historically a really bad flipper, their net margins are somewhere around 7%, and they tend to do a pretty bad job at their renovations, which makes me bearish on Open Door's earnings. But then again, hey, look, you can play the momentum in the stock. We in the course membership, use coupon code DADDY'SBACK, we were able to play this somewhere between 60 cents up to $5. But I think over $5, the momentum's gone too far, and Open Door needs to come down a whole lot more. And I think their earnings are going to suck, mostly because I think fundamentally they just suck at their business. But where you're finding the biggest pain are classically in the overbuild markets. We went through this analysis on the Redfin data center earlier, where we could see that in San Diego, you're year-over-year positive on pricing, with the exception of a small little bump over here for about 1 month in 2024. You find this broadly true of most areas that are blue state areas like New York or California areas, just like we saw in the Wall Street Journal piece here. But in Dallas, Tampa, and Texas, you're still seeing the declines in prices where, that's all metros, which is the entire country on average doing fine. But you look at some of those overbuilt areas, that housing sell-off is actually worsening. You are now sitting at the lowest level that you've sat in really the last 4 years, maybe absent that little moment right there, 421. Nope. 421 over here. 427 right now. You're basically at the lows compared to the high you saw over here of 574, which is down over 25%, which is crazy. So what are the real bubbly risk factors in the market? Few things. Number one, bad time to flip. Number two, be careful of the overbuilt housing markets because that's where you're really getting burned. Number three, be careful of getting suckered into, in my opinion, dangerous loan products because yes, right now it's getting more popular to go for creative financing because frankly, it is getting expensive to finance new real estate. I mean, we now have 1 in 5 new mortgages that are over 6%, which is really expensive. And it suggests or implies at least that, hey, there'll be a big refinancing boom when interest rates come down. The only problem with this is if you have a high interest rate loan and you're in an easy to build area like Atlanta, Dallas, Phoenix, Austin, Tampa, Charlotte, North Carolina, or some of these other states, unlike the harder to build areas of the West Coast, you're potentially going to run into more risks trying to refinance. Because what happens if we end up in an unemployment recession, rates get cut to zero frantically, but you're stuck with a fixed rate loan over 6%, or you went for creative financing like an interest-only loan with a fixed rate term coming in the future, you might not be able to get the appraisal to justify refinancing. So there are real risks here. First of all, I hate Zillow. Screw them for limiting rental competition. We see real big problems here, and frankly, Zillow probably deserves to get sued. I hate Zillow. Sorry, can't stand them. As far as Rocket Mortgage, it'll probably end up creating a buy the dip opportunity for the stock, as we see here. Stock's down 4%. It was down even more when this news broke. Over time, as interest rates come down, the lenders should do pretty well. Loan Depot, Rocket Mortgage, United Wholesale. Rocket Mortgage now owns Mr. Cooper and Redfin. Redfin is also a lender. They'll be fine. Worst case scenario, Rocket Mortgage here has to pay back some money to Zillow. But I think really Zillow is the pooper duper here. They're the sort of devil in the blankets, if you will. But anywho, this is Zillow for you. So, second, stay away from flipping. Third, be cautious of that creative financing risk. big danger in my opinion. And pay attention. Opendoor might just be a bad flipper. So maybe if you could do good flipping work, you'll be all right. But as far as a broader, big housing market bubble, I don't think we're in that cycle now where we're going to see another 2008. Not at least until we end up with a big oopsie doopsies by actually blowing up the bubble more. Now, that's actually what I think Trump is going to end up accomplishing. We'll end up getting lower rates and potentially an unemployment recession or even just a softer labor market here. The lower rates with fewer consumer protections because, Trump's right-hand man, Mr. Vote, gutted 90% of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, I think will lead to a lot more risky financing, a lot more bubbly kind of financing, and frankly, you probably got another 10 to 20 years before you see another real bubble in the housing market. AI bubble? That might be a different topic.
Knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.